Hello students. So today we shall start with the ninth standard science. Well, let us start this session with our home, as we have spent a lot of time at our home during this lockdown period. Well, our home, that is the house which we have, has a lot of rooms, and if we observe a particular room, each room has walls. Focusing on the walls, inside the wall we focus on a brick. So that brick is basically said to be a building block of the entire house. Exactly in a similar way, in the body of a human being, we have a lot of systems, we have a lot of organs, and these organs are made up of minute bodies, and these minute bodies are known as the cells. So the chapter that we shall focus on is the fundamental unit of life, that is the cells. Now, what do we understand by the word fundamental unit? Fundamental means the basic unit. So let us go into the discovery of the cell and who discovered this cell. Well, the cell was basically discovered by Robert Hooke in the year 1665. Now at that time there were no such sort of highly powerful electron microscopes which we have now. So he used a very simple microscope. Later on, he took a small bark, that is the cork, C-O-R-K, cork, that is the head of a champagne bottle. He took the slices of the cork, and under his microscope he observed some sort of hexagonal structures, and he named these hexagonal structures as the compartments. These compartments were separated from each other with a definite boundary, and therefore later on, after a proper examination, he found out that each name was given by him as the cell. Each compartment was named as a cell. And then later on he identified that if such cells are present in the cork, then similar type of the cells may also be present in the body of the living organisms, and he named as the cells. And later on came the definition of the cell, that cell is a structural and functional unit of a living organism. Now here the two major words are there, structural and functional. Now why the cell is said to be a structural unit? The answer is because it makes a lot of structures. The eyes, ears, nose, heart, liver, kidney, these are the various structures made by the cells. Now why it is said to be a functional unit? Because after making the cell, or after making the specific structure, these structures will be doing some sort of function. So therefore it is said to be a functional unit. After the discovery of the cell, many scientists came and they gave and discovered a lot of new things inside a typical cell. Just as for example, Antoine Leeuwenhoek, he found out free living cells inside the aquatic medium. Later on came Robert Brown. He found out the nucleus in a typical cell. Furthermore, the scientist Purkinje, he found out the fluid present inside the cell, and that was known as the protoplasm. Later on, two very famous scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, they gave a typical cell theory. Now there have a few statements in relation to the cell theory, that a typical organism is made up of the cells, and the cell is a basic unit of life. Later on, one more scientist came, that is the scientist Virchow, and he gave the third statement for the cell theory, that the new cells, they arise from the pre-existing cells. Means the cells which are already present in the body, they will be ultimately dividing to give rise to the new cells. So likewise, various scientists, they came and they gave their respective contributions. Now, based on the number of the cells, there were a lot of classifications which were made. But here we shall focus on the basic classification based on the number of the cells. So we have two basic types of the organisms: unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms. Let us see the definition point of view. So unicellular, uni means one. So the organisms made up of only one cell are said to be the unicellular organisms. The best examples of them are the amoeba, chlamydomonas, and the paramecia. Furthermore, multicellular, multi means many. So the organisms that are made up of many cells, they are said to be the multicellular organisms. And a lot of plants and animals belonging to various categories, they are found to be multicellular. Well, depending upon the shapes and the size of the cells, there are a lot of variations. As for example, in case of human body, a lot of variations are seen in case of the shapes and the size of the cells. Right from the red blood cells to the sperm, the ovum, as well as the nerve cell. The nerve cell, that is the brain cell, it is said to be the longest cell of the human body. These cells, they ultimately club together, they merge together to form the tissues. These tissues further merge together to form the organs. These organs, they further merge together to form the organ systems, and all the organ systems, they club together in a well coordinated manner inside the body of a living organism, and it helps the organism to function properly. Therefore, if we talk about one very important term, that is division of labor. Labor means the work. So the work is getting distributed into our body with the help of these cells. How is it so? Well, whenever we talk about the term digestion, only one organ comes into our mind, that is the stomach. But it is not so. When we put the food into our mouth, it is properly digested, it is properly churned into our mouth, then we gulp it, it enters the stomach, the proper digestion takes place, it enters the small intestine, large intestine, and later on the waste materials are released outside the body. So the work is not only done by the stomach, it is distributed from the mouth to the anus region. So that is about the division of the labor. Now let us go into the cell and identify the regions of a cell. After a lot of discovery, it was found out that there are three major regions of a typical cell. Let us identify in much detail. So when we draw a typical cell, it is mainly identified that a cell has three major regions. The outermost region, that is said to be a cell membrane. membrane means some sort of covering. The central region, that is said to be a nucleus, and the region between the nucleus and the cell membrane, that is said to be a cytoplasm. So these are the three major regions of a typical cell, that is the outermost known as the cell membrane, also known as the plasma membrane, the central region known as the nucleus, that is the heart of the cell, and the region between the cell membrane and the nucleus, that is said to be a cytoplasm. When talking about the first major part of the cell, that is the plasma membrane. Now let us see the structure of a typical plasma membrane. Now a typical plasma membrane basically consists of the upper layer, the lower layer, and the stuff which is filled between it. So it is said to be like a sandwich model, where the upper bread, it is basically made up of the fats, the lower bread made up of the fats again, and the stuff which is made between the upper bread and the lower bread is basically the proteins. So there are certain proteins that are present between the two breads, and there are certain proteins which are emerging outside also. Fine. Now a major function done by this plasma membrane is that it is highly selective. So it is said to be a selectively permeable membrane. Now why it is said to be a selectively permeable? Means only the selective substances will be entering the cell, and the useless materials will be thrown outside the cell through the plasma membrane. Now how it does so? Let us observe it out. Now, this is a small region of a typical plasma membrane. Now, plasma membrane or the cell will be doing a lot of activities, and in doing so, it will be producing a lot of carbon dioxide content. So, the amount of carbon dioxide is more in the inner region, and the amount of carbon dioxide is less in the outer part. Likewise, the amount of oxygen is more on the outer region, and the amount of oxygen is less in the inner region. These gaseous substances will always be moving from higher concentration to the lower concentrations. So therefore, the oxygen which is more towards the inner side will be going towards the outer side, and the oxygen content which is more towards the outer side will be going towards the inner side. And this transfer of the gases mainly takes place by one very major process, and that process is said to be the diffusion content. If a similar process takes place with the help of water, that water moves from a region of higher water concentration to a region of lower water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane, then it is said to be the osmosis process. Well, depending on the osmosis, we have three major types of the solutions: hypotonic, isotonic, and the hypertonic. The first one, hypotonic. Hypo means less. So the cell is having less amount of water. When such a cell is placed in a solution having more amount of water, the cell will gain water and it will swell in size. So that is the hypotonic solution. The second one, that is the isotonic solution. Now iso means same. So the amount of water inside the cell and outside the cell is same. So the amount of water that is going from the cell to outside or from outside to inside is absolutely same. So there is no change in the shape and the size of the cell. So that is the isotonic solution. The third one is the hypertonic solution. Hyper means more. So when a cell filled with a lot of water is placed in a container with no amount of water at all, then water is lost from the cell by the process of evaporation and the cell ultimately shrinks. And that is said to be the hypertonic solution. Well, this plasma membrane has a lot of flexibility also. And because of this flexibility, it has a tendency to take up the food substances. And therefore, it is said to be the endocytosis, the process of taking up the food substances. That is, in case of amoeba, it is said to be the endocytosis. Furthermore, a lot of substances are also being absorbed. Likewise, the roots mainly taking up water from the soil, and various other examples are there. So these are the various functions in relation to the plasma membrane. Now in case of the plant cells, that is plant cells exclusively, there is an outer covering which mainly surrounds the plasma membrane, and that is said to be a cell wall. So the cell wall is only present in case of a plant cell. Now why it is absent in case of the animal cells? So for that, let us go into the functions of a cell wall. Now a cell wall typically made up of cellulose. It is a material, and because of which the cell attains a proper shape and it can withstand a lot of stress which is given by the environment. Now why it is absent in case of the animals? Now animals, they have a perfect skeleton inside their body, and this skeleton gives proper shape and texture to their body. So as a result of which the animal cells do not require any sort of cell wall. So there is a basic difference between a plant cell and an animal cell, that a plant cell has a cell wall which covers the plasma membrane, and the animal cell do not have the cell wall. Thank you very much. In the next class, we shall focus on the brain of the cell, that is the nucleus.